Baker Mayfield, through 8 weeks of the 2023 NFL season, has proven to be QB1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the foreseeable future. And we're going to tell you why next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydays. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can always find me on the ones and twos. Guys, I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network, and you can find me on Twitter and follow me there at DP_NFL. But I got to kick this thing over to the champ himself, Mr. LSU, the 2019 national champion with them Bengal Tigers, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on Twitter at The Talent Code. Keep talk to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? This is Keith Sanchez, man, and we are back at it with another episode of Locked On NFL Draft from your dynamic duo, man. And listen, today's slate, we're talking Baker Mayfield. Is he quarterback one, or they have a top 10 pick, DP? So do they need to go ahead and draft a quarterback, or do you roll with Baker Mayfield again next year? I'm sorry, in DP, we're talking impact rookies for this Bears and Panthers game, and then we're going to come up with our game picks, right? We're going to run through the roster and tell you who we think is going to win this game based off the rookie players that's playing, some of those veteran players. We're going to throw all of that together and get this thing going. But DP, before we get started, man, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Keith, when I looked at lost in the shuffle, right, of the CJ Stroud performance this Sunday was Baker Mayfield. He played a very good game, right? You talk about he should have had the game-winning drive of the game if his defense could have gotten the stop versus CJ Stroud, but they weren't able to do that. But I went a little deeper and looked at this number. I said, man, it feels like every time I turn on the TV and watch Baker Mayfield in this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, he's playing good football. Now I looked at the numbers, Keith. Through 8 games, he's completed 65% of his completions, which would be a career high for him. 1,865 passing yards, 7 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He's only been sacked 13 times in 8 games. His passer rating is 92.7. This guy's playing very good football, Keith. And this is, like I said, this is probably the best start he's had to his career. So when I ask you this, Keith, has he locked up QB1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in your opinion, or should they still keep their options open for the 2024 NFL Draft?
DP, I obviously, if you get top 2, top 3 is a different discussion, right? But as currently slated, I believe if you go to Tankathon, the Tampa Bay Bucks, I mean, like you said, Baker Mayfield played well, but they lost the game, right? And the Tampa Bay Bucks, after starting 3-1, they're on a 4-game losing streak. And, you know, you read out a couple of the stats of, you know, his seasonal stats, right? But, you know, they lost to the Texans, lost to the Bills, lost to the Falcons, lost to the Lions, right? And he's played well, even through that 4-game losing streak. That is 1, 2, that is 4, 5. That's 5 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, right? So you can't say he's the reason why they're losing. If so, for that, I would say he's earned the right to be the starter next year. Right, I feel good about that, and they can go a different direction with that draft pick. But DP, I'm still drafting a quarterback. He hasn't earned it for me to say you're going to be the quarterback for the next 5 years, because it's just, what have we seen from Baker Mayfield? It has been a, man, he looks really good and then a regression. He looks really good and then a regression. He looks really good and then a regression. So I have to, if I'm, and I don't know what they're going to do with Todd Bowles, with the general manager, right? I think that for where people thought this team was, and it's on a 4-game losing streak, I understand it. But for what people thought the product would be, and we thought it would be all-time bad and some of the worst in the entire NFL, right? It's not that. Like, they're not the worst. They're not a bottom 5 team in the NFL. Even when you just watch this team play, they're competitive in every single game, DP. I want to say that I would still insert a draft a quarterback, right, in the 2nd, 3rd round, potentially 3rd round, and kind of groom that guy to be able to kind of transition this thing forward, because a lot of people like to talk about just blow the whole thing up and tank, right? But I just feel like who wants to make a decision to be a loser, right? Like the competitiveness in me finds it difficult to do that. And if you're a franchise and you can find a way to segue from one era to another era, I think that's the option, right? The option is not just put the dynamite in there, blow it up, and say, all right, we're just gonna be really, really bad for a couple of years. Like, no, that who wants to be bad, right? I'm pretty sure, like NFL fans, we put our all into Sundays and watching our team play. And when they lose, we don't feel good about it, right? Some people have bad weeks, some people have bad Mondays, right? So who wants that? We want to try to win as many games as possible. So that was the long answer. Short answer is quarterback next year. Yes, I'm fine with that. I'm still drafting a quarterback and trying to piece this thing together.
Now, two-part. I want to piggyback off of that. You want to draft the quarterback. Are you drafting with the 8th overall, or are you waiting to day 2?
Right. If it's the 8th overall pick, DP, and we're talking Caleb Williams, Drake May out of there, right? Because they'll be top 5 picks, and you're talking Jason McCarthy, Michael Penix. I don't think I am, and that's no disrespect to those guys, but we're still trying to win again next year, right? And I'm asking myself, what gives me the best opportunity to win? And you still have veterans on this team that's currently constructed, right? You still got Devontae White, Levante David, Carlton Davis, right? Vita Vea. There's still veterans on this team. Mike Evans, Goodwin, right? Trey Palmer, the rookie, is showing up well. So it's hard to just say, I'm gonna just sell the farm on everybody, right? Or I don't want to put those guys through a year of we're not really trying to win, we're just trying to grow this year, right? So I think I'm going to spend that first round pick, DP, on a positional need that's going to help me. And then, like I said, second and third round pick, I'll go with drafting a quarterback if everything meshes and lines up well.
No, I'm with you, Keith, and because with that first round pick, I'd rather get an impact player, right? To kind of come in and help this team in some way, shape, or form. Mike Evans, I believe, is on the last year of his contract, right? So for me, when I look at this thing, I say, okay, if Mike Evans is on last year of his contract, I'm at the 8th overall pick. I'm expecting 2 to maybe 3 quarterbacks in the top 6. I'm expecting at least one offensive tackle, if not both, in terms of Olu Fashanu and Penn State and Joe Alt at Notre Dame. Maybe Marvin, and of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. has to fall somewhere in there. You know what I mean? But if say he doesn't, you're at 8. You get a chance at one of the big 4. I'm talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman, or Roma Dunze. You can find a young replacement for Mike Evans. And you know what I mean? Maybe you tag Mike Evans, you use him as trade bait to get some more draft capital before the draft, whatever. But you find a cheap option, that a cheap, younger, and uber talented option to step into that big body role where you can then get year 2 progression from Trey Palmer. You move Chris Godwin around, right? We're starting to see a little bit more from the tight end Cade Otton in this offense as well. So they're putting things. Now, the one thing they got to fix, Keith, and it's the run game. Right now, Rachaad White, who I like coming, as a complete type of back, like could do a lot of different things. 112 carries, so they don't run the ball enough, in my opinion. But 112 carries, 378 yards through 8 games, averaging less than 3.5 yards per carry. His longest run is 16. You know who's second on the team in rushing, Keith? Baker Mayfield, 35 carries for 122. That's not really good, right? Like, you don't want your not so mobile quarterback being your second leading rusher, right? Well, but Rachaad White's the 3rd on the team in receiving yards right now, Keith.
And DP, but that speaks to the injuries that they've had also too, right, along the offensive line last year. But then you mentioned all those offensive tackles potentially being gone. Maybe you won't want them to be there, right? So we can draft, a Olu Fashanu or Joe Alt, and then you can kick Tristan Wirfs back to the right side, and then now he can kind of help balance that thing up, because right now, DP,
real quick, Keith, was Luke Goedeke a guard coming out of college, or was he a tackle? Did he play both?
Oh, I think he played both. Because it was him, and then it was his teammate coming out of Central Michigan also that plays for the Indianapolis Colts, right? But yes. I mean they've kind of, I don't want to say they've hit with that pick, right? But that was something that I was not 100% comfortable with the combination of Cody Mock and Luke Goedeke, right? And I like Cody Mock. It's just having 2 young guys on one side of the offensive line. You would like some type of balance with a veteran and a young guy. So we'll see how that thing goes. But DP, like I said, my answer is next year, I don't mind rolling him out. He's earned that. But I'm drafting the quarterback.
But I'm drafting the quarterback.
We still got a couple
and Keith, real quick, before we transition, is there a quarterback that you would like to see on day 2 that you think could be a good fit for this team and sit behind him
Man, that's tough. So we mentioned Jaden Daniels. Was that yesterday's podcast?
Yep.
I don't mind something like that because if you're going to keep these wide receivers, I think what Jaden Daniels is showing like the down the field accuracy, and we know that Mike Evans, if Mike Evans comes back, right, he's that type of guy. Then you have Goodwin. I would want to put Jaden Daniels there because he's showing that he could get the ball to Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, right, and those guys kind of help him in his game, but then also the big play element that Jaden Daniels has with his legs, right? Being able to escape the pocket, get the ball down the field. And then you're kind of taking the same risk that the Baltimore Ravens kind of took with Lamar Jackson, and not comparing them, but they took Lamar Jackson at the back end of the first round and say, hey, it's not a lot of, we're not losing a lot in this situation, but there's a lot that could potentially be there to gain. And guess what? If you don't hit on it, Jaden Daniels a third round pick, guess what? It's not the worst thing in the world, right? Like you can still move forward and go and draft another quarter. You didn't leverage the entire farm to get a quarterback like a Jaden.
I'll throw one name out there so before we can transition. DJU. He may not be a second round pick, but you think about third, fourth round, you can get some good value for a big arm, big quarterback that can make plays for this offense, especially its offense that could, and once you get the run game going, he can really work off of the play action.
Yeah, I like that. I don't mind that at all. With DP, let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it flowing, man. We are on to the Impact Rookie segment. Yes, we are breaking down this Bears and Panthers matchup, man. We know it sounds like it's going to be a doozy, but man, we're going to break this thing down. We're going to go through these Impact Rookies, let you know who to look out for, what to look for, and what guys are going to make plays.
Why root for your favorite team on an empty stomach? You shouldn't, first of all. But what you could do is order on DoorDash and save on football watch party favorites. All right, guys, I live in the Greenville County area of South Carolina. And after having, whether it's pizza, burgers, wings, soda, whatever I had during game day, early in the day, during the watch party or the tailgate, I love some good dessert. And Cheesecake Factory is one of the best dessert places around. And you can get that order right to your front step, right to your front door through the DoorDash app, guys. I'm telling you now, me and my wife love it. I'm talking about Reese's Cup, Red Velvet is one of my favorite. They have a litany and variety of flavors that you can really tap into and really enjoy, guys. Okay, so kick back at kickoff with unbeatable deals on everything you need for your watch party or your tailgate. All right, get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code LOCK23. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code LOCK23. Guys, when I think about the Carolina Panthers and the impact rookie, most people would think I'm going to the quarterback, right? To Bryce Young. Well, I'm not. I mean, I need him to be an impact player, of course, because he's the starting quarterback. I'm going to their second round pick, Keith. Jonathan Mingo, a pick that I wasn't too fond of because I believe they traded up for him. And I was like, okay, like he's still raw, guys. Like you know what I mean? If you're really expecting to make headway to compete, you might want to get someone like a Tank Dell, like a Josh Downs that will make Bryce Young's job easier in terms of getting the ball out quickly, right? And being a winner, right? Being a ball winner, being a guy that can win one-on-one. But Mingo, I think it's time. We need to see that back stretch of the season take off for you, Mingo. Like, I need to see you come out and impact this game. Because for one, across the field, it's going to be the guy that they tried to use you to replace, DJ Moore. Right. So while DJ Moore's on the opposite side, you don't want to be out there as a second round pick after the, because think about it, Keith, guys, what this is very similar to the AJ Brown, Treylon Burks situation, right? You traded away your number one wide receiver, then you drafted the rookie and put him in an impossible situation with shoes to fill. And he had to be able to fill those shoes. So if there's any impact rookie I want to see step up, or any rookie I want to see be an impact player in this matchup, I need to be Jonathan Mingo, man. I need you to what's Coach Prime always say? It's personal. Take it personal, Jonathan Mingo. Take it personal, because if DJ Moore goes out there and has another remember a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, what kind of game he had against the Washington Commanders, right? You don't want him to go out there and have this type of game against your secondary. And if he does that and you're out here with 2 catches for 17 yards and he's got 8 for $180 and 2 touchdowns, it's not good. The conversation is not going to be good. So I think for me, impact rookie got to be Jonathan Mingo.
Can you imagine Carolina Panthers fans if that's the case? If DJ Moore for 180,
the nearest cliff, the nearest cliff. They are driving that bus off that cliff. They are out of there. You know what I mean?
It would definitely go
If
crazy.
they
DP,
and Jonathan Mingo has less than 20 yards receiving, it's going to be pandemonium.
yeah, it's going to be mayhem in Carolina, man. But DP, I know he said rookies. I'm gonna go with a second year player,
Yeah.
and that's Ike Ekwonu, because I feel like there's been a lot of talk about him. When he's promising, there's talk about him. When he plays bad, there's talk about him. Right? He's just one of those guys, and I feel like that people are trying to lump him into the same conversation with Evan Neal, right? Like another offensive tackle bust, right? Like, and that's the conversation I want to see. So talking about an impact rookie, I just want to see him play well, right? Just play a solid football game, get in there, do your thing, handle your business, be technically sound, protect Bryce Young, right? Be the blindside protector, do your thing, because all of the physical ability is there, right? Like the want-to is there, the character, he checks all of the boxes. I like the pick when he made the pick, but seems as though there's conversations that, you know what I'm saying, he's not necessarily living up to the pick. And then DP, I'll go to the defensive side of the ball for the Carolina Panthers before we transition to the Chicago Bears, right? Look at this defense side of the football. You don't realize how many people for the Panthers are on IR. It's like, it's crazy. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 10 players on IR just on the defensive side of the football, DP. So I'm looking at some of these young guys, right? It has to be a DJ Johnson, right? Or Maury Barno. One of y'all guys have to show up. They drafted y'all, right? They drafted y'all in the middle rounds. You guys have to show up. So that's the two defensive guys that I'm looking for the Carolina Panthers.
No, I like that, Keith. And like you said with Icky, man, people 100% are starting to try and tie him and Evan Neal together. It's like, okay, maybe we don't take tackles that, that high in the draft. It's like, no, like you still take these guys because they're important. Your quarterback needs these type of guys, right? These physically gifted and these guys that can play. But Evan Neal's playing right tackle when he's a left tackle. And Ike Ekwonu was just someone who I think the best bet for him is that he has kind of that Garrett Bowles ascension, where it's like year 3 and 4, that's when you see the best version of him, because he's still kind of raw with his technique. You see his hands are still wide, hand carriage is kind of low and stuff like that. And he punches, his punch timing is still inconsistent. But this is a guy that came from an offense that didn't throw the ball a lot, and he was more of a run blocker. So it's like, yeah, his pass reps are going to be a little up and down, little peaks and valleys, man. It just is what it is. But Keith, when we flip to the Chicago Bears, right, I think about sticking with offensive tackle, Darnell Wright. You were a top 10 pick and forever will be linked to the Chicago Bears selecting to pick you over Jalen Carter. I'm sorry, but that's how this thing is always going to pan out. They traded back a spot so Philly could come up and get Jalen Carter, where they could have sat their butts right there and taken Jalen Carter. And then they could have gotten DeJuan Jones on day 2, like the Cleveland Browns did, right? And he's been very good for the Cleveland Browns. But Darnell Wright has to go out there and handle business. And what I want to see is, and for him to be an impact, Evero, the defensive coordinator from the Panthers, I want you to throw Brian Burns over there. Throw Burns over there. Burns is healthy and good to go for this game because it's a short week. Throw him over there. Test this young rookie. I've seen him look really good in the run game, right? We talk about that with Icky and Evan. I've seen Darnell Wright look really good in the run game, and I've seen some concerning moments in the pass protection, right, where he's getting beat by explosive rushers around the edge and around the corner, and it's like, okay, you know what I mean? And this is the type of rusher that could stress him. So I think I would like to see him just kind of step up and show what type of impact he can have. And then Tyreek Stevenson, Keith, the cornerback, right? From the University of Miami, he's got the speed, the physical ability. He has everything to be a type of corner that you want on the outside, and he's got like short memory. Don't matter if you caught a pass on him or not. He's coming back the very next rep. He's in your face. He's going to be physical. He's going to beat you up. And we talk about Jonathan Mingo having a game. Let's get some rookie versus rookie action there, and let's see who can actually cancel out the other.
Yeah, I mean, because we've seen, right, the game plan for the Carolina Panthers. Play man, right? Play man against this receiver core that at times struggles to separate. But you look at the Chicago Bears corners, and they have fairly young corners, right? Even Kyler Gordon, that's a second-year player, right? And we want to see what do they do, right? Do they have to play this cover 2 scheme? That man, even Flus ran, or are they going to play some man? So that is definitely a key matchup. But DP, I'm gonna wrap this thing up with kind of tying it together with your conversation about the Jalen Carter situation. Is that they went defensive tackle, right? They went defensive tackle twice, and they went with 2 guys in Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens, right? Two guys at this. I thought they had high upside, right? And they could rush the quarterback. They had flashes of being really good, but it was flashes and it was inconsistent, right? So I thought that they kind of fell in the same bucket. Like if I just had like a Cliff Notes version of each player, right? Like the Cliff Notes would be very similar about each player. And then this is the thing, though, that if you draft two of those guys, right, that you have a 50% chance on hitting on, you would think that you would hit on one of them, right? Like if I miss on one, I'm going to hit on the other. So
Right.
I'm want to watch it just to see if one of these law of averages, right, kind of play out and one of these guys are able to come into their own and just be a productive defensive tackle. Because when you talk about being the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", the athletic that can bend, that's fluid, that can rush the quarterback, like surface level, they have that, right? It's just a consistency and partly some of it could be instinctually. And I know that's not something that you talk about with a defensive tackle instincts, but just the reactionary things, right? That kind of involve both of them. So I'll be checking out to see which guys kind of, starting to turn that corner and everything and make plays for the Chicago Bears. But DP, let's keep this thing going, man. Now we have to make our game picks, right? We talked about the young guys. We talked about the second-year guys, the rookies. Now we get to pull it all in together, right? The veterans, everybody who's going to be on the football field, and decide on who we think is going to win this Bears-Panthers matchup that I know everybody's so excited to see.
Guys, we spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for the connection we have. And today I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply of ED medications. Guys, do you realize what that means? Whether you're on an extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage, you are covered, my friend. Thanks to our partners at Jase Medical. Their life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications can be ordered in a 1-year supply. Even ED generics for Cialis, Viagra, and Revatio prescriptions. A verified customer had this to say about Jase. I'm thankful for the service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have them. I ordered most of my daily meds with a 1-year supply. I also ordered their antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would like to get a peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily medication, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use our promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Keith, this game has big time implications for the 2024 NFL draft, right? Because the Chicago Bears are 2-7. The Carolina Panthers are 1-7. If the Panthers lose, the Bears own their first round pick. And if the Cardinals was to win this week against the Atlanta Falcons, that means that pick will go to number 1, right? Because the Panthers still be they'll be 1-8.
Do you really want to win? Right? If you the Panthers,
if you the Chicago Bears,
you want to win. Yeah, you want to win, right? So that's what
you want to win. If you the Panthers,
you do want to win. So this is like extra incentive to win, because if the Bears beat you, they beat you twice, right? Because they got your draft pick.
Legit. It's like it's literally like it's a double whammy in that situation. The Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers are like both teams want to win this, because the Panthers are like, nah, we want your pick to be as low as possible, and we already hurt that we don't have the pick, especially how the season's going. So this game has big time implications, and we talked about those young guys. We don't know if Justin Fields, is going to play. He's questionable, right? We'll see if he is able to for after the thumb injury and everything. Keith, who do you think is going to win this game? Who are you picking?
Yeah, so that's where a lot of my pick resides, right? In the whole situation of if Justin Fields is healthy. But I think I'm going to still just go with the Chicago Bears, because I just look at their offensive weapons and I just think they have more, right? And we talked about DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Tyler Scott, Cole Kmet. I think he had 2 touchdown receptions last week against the Saints. And even with Tyson Bagent, right? It seems like this offense kind of ran out of steam, right? But they started off well against the Saints, to where, like I said, I live in the greater New Orleans area, and people were nervous, right? It was like there's no way we're about to lose to the Chicago Bears and Tyson Bagent in the Superdome. But the offense kind of ran out of steam. But the question is this: is that enough to beat the Carolina Panthers? And it probably is, right? Like 17.
Montez Sweat. Can't forget about Montez Sweat.
Yeah, Montez Sweat coming in. So I'm going to say this. I think the Chicago Bears are going to win this game. I think they have the better roster.
If Tyson Bagent plays in this game, I'm picking the Carolina Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to come out with they're going to come out one. I think this is a personal game. I think this is 100% a personal game. If Tyson Bagent plays, I figure that defensively they're going to take away DJ Moore and limit him and make him make those middle of the field throws that he could not make against the Saints, right? When you still take away the run game and make him be the guy, right? This is still a D2, D3 quarterback out of Shepherd. You're still Tyson Bagent out of Shepherd until you're not, right? So it's like you have to force him into throws and reads that he's not accustomed to making. And I think that they could do that. And then again, get Brian Burns in advantageous rush lanes to where he can dominate this game and get into the backfield and make the young quarterback hear footsteps. Another personal thing, Deonta Foreman. Keith was a Carolina Panther last year. They decided not to re-up him. They decided to pay money to Miles Sanders. You better stop Big Boy. Okay, you better stop Big Boy when he gets the football, because I expect him to run with a little more ferocity, because y'all didn't want to pay this man and you let him hit free agency. You didn't think that he was good enough to really run your offense for another year, even though he was good, very good for you last year, right? And he's been good when he's gotten the ball for the Chicago Bears for the most part. So, but if Tyson Bagent is playing, I think Bryce Young in this offense, and they'll be able to figure out the passing game enough. Right, Adam Thielen, get the ball going to Hayden Hurst, Mingo, these guys, especially Mingo. You gotta show me something. Gotta show me something, man. Good Lord. But I think that they'll be able to kind of scheme. This pass rush isn't good for Chicago, and that's why I worry. If they can get pressure on Bryce, cool. I don't know if they can do it, so I'm gonna roll with the Carolina Panthers.
All right, well, DP, this is one of those situations that we say what we both cannot be right, man. When we hop on this podcast tomorrow, somebody's gonna have bragging rights about who is right and who is wrong. But DP, man, that wraps up another episode of Locked On NFL Draft, man. I want to start the end of this thing off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us, man, every single day, man. We appreciate it. The content is ramping up, the conversations are ramping up, man. We had a really dope conversation about Caleb Williams, wide receiver 2. Like we said, this is our time. This is the time to tap in with us. I want to say thank you. We appreciate y'all, man. You can find me on X. Well, I guess we're officially over the Twitter thing, DP. We're officially over the Twitter is X. You can find me on X at TheTalentCode. You can find DP Damian Parsons. You can find him on X at DP_NFL, man. Like we always say, what, man? Y'all talk to us, tweet at us, because we talk back.
Go and follow us on YouTube, guys. Go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Wherever you listen to podcasts, get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Go subscribe, hit the automatic downloads, leave a 5-star review and comment on Apple, Spotify, whatever, guys, to continue to support the show. Listen, thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day, Monday through Friday. Like he said, shout out to y'all for being on every day. It's on tomorrow. You know what we do is make a statement time. All right. So some college prospects, we're gonna put you on the spotlight, and you got to make a statement this weekend in another big weekend of big matchups. Of course. Also, where you at? We got some guys that we're going to pull out the binoculars, and we're searching to see where these guys are, guys. So as always, man, talk to us because we talk back. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.